Marcus Williams spent 12 years making sure the lights stayed on, the floor stayed clean, and the trash got taken out. 12 years of being nobody. 12 years of being invisible. But on one catastrophic night, this nobody became the only person standing between a company and complete destruction. By morning, 240 people could have lost everything they'd built, their jobs, their futures, gone. This is his story, and it's one that almost no one knew until now. TechVantage Solutions, a software company in downtown Seattle, 240 employees, $73 million in annual revenue, built on innovation, ambition, and the kind of energy that makes 20-somethings believe they're changing the world. Every night at 10 p.m., when the last developer finally went home and the office fell silent, Marcus Williams arrived. 58 years old, quiet, methodical. He'd start on the 5th floor and work his way down, empty the trash bins, wipe down the desks, vacuum the floors, polish the glass conference room walls. He knew the building better than anyone. He knew which bathroom sink leaked, which office door stuck in the winter, which desk always had coffee rings no matter how many times he wiped it down. But nobody knew him. The executives would rush past him in the lobby, eyes on their phones, already thinking about their next meeting. The younger employees barely registered his existence, just another face that belonged to the background of their ambitious lives. One product manager, fresh out of Stanford, once complained to HR that the cleaning guy had moved her yoga mat while vacuuming. She never asked his name, never said thank you for the 12 years he'd kept her workspace spotless. To them, Marcus Williams was furniture, a function, not a person. But furniture doesn't have a past. Functions don't have stories. And Marcus had both. The thing about being invisible is that you see everything. Marcus heard the conversations that happened after hours. He saw the stress in the CEO's office, crumpled papers in the trash, coffee cups left cold and untouched. He noticed when people were struggling, when they stayed late because a project was failing, when they cried in empty conference rooms. He noticed, but no one noticed him noticing. There was one moment, though, one moment that stayed with him. It was a Thursday evening, about 6 months before everything changed. Marcus was cleaning the executive floor when he overheard 2 vice presidents talking by the elevator. "Did you see that old janitor?" one of them said, laughing. "Guy's been here forever and still doesn't understand we have a wireless network. I saw him actually checking cables behind a server rack last week." The other one chuckled. "Probably thinks he's helping. Somebody should tell him to just stick to mopping." Marcus heard it, said nothing, just kept pushing his cart down the hallway. He'd heard worse. He'd been invisible for so long that sometimes even the casual cruelty passed right through him. But here's what those vice presidents didn't know. Before Marcus Williams was a janitor, he was something else entirely. March 17th, 2:47 a.m. Marcus was on the 3rd floor cleaning the developer section when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong. A high-pitched alarm coming from the server room. Now, Marcus wasn't supposed to go in the server room. That was IT territory, sacred ground. But he had the master keys, and something felt wrong. He opened the door. Every screen in the room was flashing red, error messages cascading down monitors, and in the center of it all, the main server tower, completely dark. Marcus didn't panic. He pulled out his phone and called the emergency number listed on the wall. It rang 4 times before someone picked up. "This is Jake, IT on call. This is Marcus, the night custodian. Something's wrong with the main server. Everything's flashing red and..." "Wait, you're in the server room? You're not supposed to..." "I know, but the alarm was going off and..." "Don't touch anything. I'm calling the team. Just don't touch anything." The line went dead. Marcus stood there in the flashing red light and waited. 20 minutes later, Jake arrived. Then the IT director. Then the CTO. By 4 a.m., there were 12 people crammed into that server room, all of them frantic. Marcus stood near the door, watching. He'd seen something, a detail that didn't fit. The archive logs in the wall monitor showed a gap, a pattern he recognized. "Excuse me," Marcus said quietly. "I think I might..." The director turned, frustrated and exhausted. "Marcus, I appreciate you calling this in, but we've got it from here. This is highly technical. You should probably head home." "I understand, but I noticed the archive server. We've checked every server, every backup, every redundancy." The director's voice was sharp, not cruel, just desperate. "Please, we need space to work." Marcus nodded, said nothing more, picked up his mop and left. They didn't ask what he'd noticed. They didn't ask what he knew. Because why would they? He was the janitor. That dismissal, that single moment, almost cost them everything. The diagnosis was catastrophic. Ransomware attack, highly sophisticated. Every file on every server had been encrypted. Every backup corrupted or locked. Customer data, financial records, proprietary code, everything gone. Or more accurately, held hostage. The hackers wanted $3 million in cryptocurrency within 72 hours, or they'd delete everything permanently. Marcus stood in the corner of the room, still holding his mop, watching the most brilliant technical minds in the company slowly realize they had no solution. The CTO was on the phone with the FBI. The IT director was calling cloud backup services, trying to find any copy they'd missed. Everyone was yelling, panicking, running through options. None of them were working. At 6 a.m., Marcus quietly slipped out. His shift was over. He went home, but he didn't sleep. That afternoon, Marcus came back. Not for his shift, it was 2 p.m., the middle of the workday. He'd never come during business hours before. He stood in the lobby in his regular clothes, a simple button-down shirt and khakis, holding a worn backpack. The receptionist barely recognized him. "Can I help you?" "I need to speak to the IT director, or the CTO. It's about last night," Marcus replied. She looked confused. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's urgent. My name is Marcus Williams. I am the night janitor." The receptionist hesitated, then made a call. 5 minutes later, Jake from IT came down, looking exhausted and irritated. "Marcus, right? Look, we're in the middle of a crisis here. If this is about your schedule, I know where there's a backup." Jake stopped. "What?" "A backup of the servers. I know where there is one." Jake stared at Marcus. "Marcus, I appreciate it, but we've checked every backup system. They got everything, cloud, local, redundant. Not this one." Something in Marcus's voice made Jake pause, made him actually look at the man he'd walked past 1,000 times without seeing. "What are you talking about?" Marcus reached into his backpack and pulled out an external hard drive. Old, at least 8 years old, the kind of clunky hardware that nobody used anymore. 4 months ago, I noticed something. The backup automation system was skipping the archive server in the basement, the old one you guys stopped using after the cloud migration. The logs showed it wasn't being included in the nightly backups anymore. Jake's eyes widened. "The archive server? That thing's ancient. Wait, how do you know about backup logs?" Marcus met his gaze. "Because I used to check them, every night. It was a habit I never broke." "But you're a janitor." "I'm a janitor now, but for 23 years before that, I was a senior systems administrator at Evergreen Technology. I built their entire network infrastructure, managed security protocols, handled disaster recovery." The lobby went silent. "I left IT after my wife got sick. Cancer. She needed full-time care, and I needed stable hours and less stress. No on-call emergencies, no weekend crisis. Just a simple night job where I could be home during the day, so I could take care of her." Marcus's voice caught slightly, then steadied. "She passed 4 years ago. By then, I was too old to get back into IT, too out of touch. So I stayed, because somebody had to keep the floors clean. Somebody had to make sure the coffee makers worked. And somebody," he held up the hard drive, "somebody had to make sure there was still a backup, just in case." Jake couldn't speak. "When I saw the archive server being skipped, I started doing manual backups every Sunday night. Took about an hour. I'd come in early, run the backup to this drive, and leave it in my locker. I was going to mention it to someone, but, well, nobody really listens to the janitor." Jake grabbed the hard drive like it was made of gold. This has everything? Through last Sunday, 6 days ago. You'll lose this week's work, but you won't lose the company. 3 hours later, Marcus sat in the server room, surrounded by the entire IT team. The hard drive was connected, the recovery process was running, and then the screen flickered. "Wait," Jake said, his voice tight. "The file structure, it's not reading properly. The data might be corrupted?" Marcus leaned forward, his fingers already moving across the keyboard with a fluidity that made everyone stop talking. "No, you're using the wrong protocol. This backup was made with the old architecture. You need to mount it as a legacy system first." His hands moved across the keys, quick, confident, precise. Commands that hadn't been typed in years. Procedures that the younger engineers had never even seen. The screen flickered again, and then green. Progress bars, file counts climbing. It was working. Jake exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Who are you? By 11 p.m. that night, TechVantage Solutions was back online. It took 14 hours of work. A team of 12 engineers, led by Marcus himself, who walked them through the recovery process step by step, remembering protocols and procedures he hadn't used in over a decade. They didn't pay the ransom, they didn't lose a single client, and they didn't lose the company. The next morning, the CEO called an all-hands meeting. All 240 employees packed into the main conference room. Marcus was asked to stand at the front, and for the first time in 12 years, everyone saw him, really saw him. The CEO told the story, told them about the man they'd walked past every single night, the man they'd never thanked, the man whose name they'd never learned, the man who saved everything they'd built. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The product manager who'd complained about her yoga mat stood up, crying, and apologized. The vice presidents who'd mocked him by the elevator didn't say a word. They just looked at the floor in shame. But Marcus didn't want apologies. He wanted them to remember. "I didn't do this for recognition. I did it because it was the right thing to do. Because I've always believed that if you're going to do a job, any job, you do it with dignity. You do it right." He paused, his voice quieter now, more vulnerable. "For a long time after my wife died, I thought maybe being invisible meant I didn't matter anymore. That maybe I'd used up all my value in another life. But she used to tell me, 'Marcus, it doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you show up and care.'" His voice steadied. "So that's what I did. I showed up. I cared. Even when no one was watching." The company offered him a position, IT security consultant, 3 times his janitor salary, a desk with a window, recognition, respect. Marcus accepted on one condition, that the company create a scholarship fund in his late wife's name for students pursuing technical degrees who couldn't afford college, students who had the talent but not the opportunity. They agreed immediately. The fund started with $50,000 raised by employees in less than a week. Marcus Williams wasn't invisible anymore. But here's the thing, he always mattered. He always had value. He was always worthy of respect. The only thing that changed was that people finally saw it. 3 months later, Marcus was walking through the office during the day, still getting used to seeing it in sunlight. A young developer stopped him in the hallway. "Marcus," she said, "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I walked past you for 2 years and never said your name. I won't make that mistake again." Marcus smiled. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Nice to officially meet you, Emma." That's what real change looks like. Not a grand gesture, just a name, just being seen. This is Hidden Heroes. If this story moved you, subscribe to hear more stories about the people the world almost missed. And in the comments, tell us, Is there someone invisible in your life that deserves to be seen?